Callise's theories. Let's solve this case. And I just want to say this is just one theory. I'm sure there could be many more out there. In fact, I have more than one theory about this game. This theory is about Little Nightmares 2. There will be spoilers for the base game of Little Nightmares 2. No DLC discussion in here, just the based game. I'm going to be showing clips from the game, and I'm going to be showing the ending, and I'm going to be discussing it. So if you don't want spoilers, now's the time to back out. I'm going to add a trigger warning. A part of my theory involves I think these characters deal with different types of abuse, and if this is a sensitive topic for you, you may want to back out now. This theory is Little Nightmares 2 is actually Mono's nightmares. The first part of my theory is that Mono and Six are not actually children. They're not small beings. They're actually high schoolers. And Mono always dreams of himself as a child because of the state of he feels so helpless in his life that everyone else has the control. He doesn't really have much control over his situation or his life. He's like a small, helpless child, and that's why he sees himself that way in his dreams and his nightmares. So, since I believe that Mono is the dreamer, we're going to explore and discuss what I think his reality could be like versus the nightmares he has about it. The start of Little Nightmares is basically you're in this weird corridor, and then suddenly you're out. And you just appear. We don't know anything about this character. We don't know anything about this world. We just start exploring. And that's very much like dreams. You just, in the dream, and you just start checking out the world, and you don't really know anything what's going on. Mono ends up traveling to a little house. Some people dream really bizarre things that are nowhere near reality. I think Mono takes pieces of his real life and altered it to be nightmarish, because most of the places Mono dreams about are places that are in real life. Mono climbs inside the window and ends up in a very dirty house. In real life, I think Mono ends up in foster care. I think he loses his family or something tragic, and he ends up coming to this house. Mono hears music and he's drawn to it, and I think that Six uses music to become withdrawn from her reality in real life. Mono seeks out the one that was playing the music and calls out to her. He holds out his hand. So in real life, I think Mono ends up being in a foster house where he meets Six. I think she's rather withdrawn and a little skittish of him and a little uncertain of the type of person he is. But he's very friendly and he offers his hand and he seems very kind compared to the other people that Six has known. So she decides to try being his friend. This is why I think they're in a foster house. In his nightmares, you see this creepy family that's kind of dead and just at a table together, and it looks fake and it doesn't feel real, but it's a setup like a family. So the further you get in, you get chased by this guy, and Six will guide Mono on where to go and how to get away from him. I think in real life, Six is teaching Mono how to sneak past their foster father and get away from their foster family. I think that the foster father is probably a drunk and a little abusive, verbally and physically, just a little bit. I don't think he chases around with shotgun. I think his nightmares amplify the fear of dealing with him. The next location is a school. I think Mono and Six go to school together. And as you can see here, the boys rush him and trap him in the locker, and then they drag Six away. Mono is stuck in the locker and it takes him a moment to climb out of there. So I think Mono and Six are friends at school, and the guys know they wouldn't be able to bother Six with Mono around. So they quite literally drag him and shove him into a locker so they can deal with Six, without anyone bothering him. Because Six doesn't have any other friends, and she doesn't have parents to care about her, which makes her an easy target. So in Mono's dreams, he shows up to rescue Six. He defeats the bullies and he's able to save her. But I think in his dreams actually made him more heroic than he actually was in real life. I think his dreams gave him what he wished he had been able to do, that he was stronger than he really was. And Six is really wounded from what they had done to her. But he's able to help her get out and travel together some more. This is the part of my theory on why I think they were actually high school students, and this is also why I gave the trigger warning, is I don't think Mono rescued Six in time. I think they were high school boys, they were curious about, the female body, and that she had no one to care about her except for Mono, which was easy to get rid of. I think he tried his best to save her, and he has no clue what happened to her or what went on. He just came in the aftermath and tried to help her out. And I don't think Six tells Mono what had happened to her there. I think she just was like, let's get out of here and let's go. And so they leave together. I think this is true to reality. I think Six really does get her revenge on the student that did that to her. And Mono's like, wow, it's kind of dark, but can you really blame her? I know something bad happened. So he probably deserved it. I believe this is also true to reality. I think Six really does decide to wear a raincoat. I think she likes it because it completely covers her head to toe. It covers her arms, her face. Nobody can see what she looks like. It's like a protective armor for her. Because the boys bothered her because they saw what she looked like, but now nobody can see, so nobody will bother her. Next location they visit is the hospital. It's at night and it's super creepy and they're really disturbed by it. So I think in real life, Model ends up being hospitalized. I don't know whether, like, maybe the foster father had beat him or there was an accident at school from his bullies. But whatever happens, he ends up in the hospital and Six comes to visit him. And she gets the ideal of, we should leave. We should leave the hospital. We should go in the cover of night and we can go to the city. And being homeless has to be better than the foster parents' home and going to the school. We see here again that once again, Six has a little bit of a dark side to her. She's breaking the fingers to the prosthetic arm. And Mono's like, wow, that's a little dark and a little uncalled for. So I think Mono and Six end up being homeless together and living in the city trying to survive. We see the tall man chasing after Mono. Six is hiding. Mono hides in another spot. And Tall Man takes Six away from Mono, and there's nothing Mono can do. And Mono is left behind. I think Six gets tired of being homeless and she meets a businessman who offers her a job, so she has a place to stay, and she ends up leaving Mono to go work for the businessman. And that's why in Mono's nightmares, it's like she's ripped from him and he is left alone. So in Mono's nightmares, he's always wore this paper bag over his head. But I think it's very symbolic when he takes it off and he lets it go. And he reveals his true self. He feels free enough to just be himself. And I think here in his nightmares, he's facing the tall man. And he realizes he's stronger than he thinks he is. And he's taking control of the situation. So I think in real life, Mono goes to face the businessman. He knows he needs to save Six from his shady business, and he's come to stop him. I can't help but to think maybe he punches the guy in his face to be able to go and rescue Six. And I can't help but to think that Mono had thought he was nothing during foster care, but when he made friends with Six and he's deciding to rescue her, he decides he is an important person. He matters because he has his friend Six to save. And in the nightmares, the music box returns because I think Six is once again withdrawn from reality, only this time she's got this angry exterior to her, and it takes Mono breaking through to her, pulling her back to reality, and having her leave with him. They run away and they're gonna leave together. And Mono completely trusts Six and he has faith in her. And then Six lets go of Mono's hand and she lets him fall. And it was such a betrayal. And I thought to myself, how could you do that to us? Like, why would you do that? And I couldn't understand until I came up with this theory that Six has been through all this abuse. And once I understood her personality and what she's been through, I understood this a lot better. Mono dreams of it like it's a betrayal because that's how it feels. I think in real life, after Mono saves her from the shady business she was working for, I think Six says, our friendship is over. I'm leaving, I'm going my separate ways, and you go your separate ways. And I think it hurt Mono so bad to have his best friend do that to him. I think Six has seen Mono that he's failed to save her multiple times. He could never help with their foster father. He could never save her from the bullies. He did not stop her from going with the businessman. I think she sits there and she blames him. I also think she sits there and tells him, you know what? You're going to become a monster just like they are. Maybe you're okay right now, but it's gonna happen. And it's better just to leave now. I think the history of abuse that Six has, that she refuses to allow herself to have a really good friend that would help her and do the best he could. I think she's sabotaging herself in this manner. I also think that there's a dark side to Six and that Mono's a little too light for her. So the very end of the game is that Mono is all alone. He has nobody in his life. And then slowly we watch as he'll turn into the tall man. And I think that's Mono's greatest nightmare is that he'll spend his whole life alone and he will become the monster that Six says he will become. But I don't think this has to be Mono's fate. I think in real life he can go against this and become a good person. I think since this is his greatest nightmare, that he will try to change his life and not become like this. So the first thing I did when I beat Little Nightmares 2 was go on YouTube and search for other people's theories. I think it has so much potentials to have different views and different ways of seeing the game. So what did you think of this theory? Do you have your own theory? Do you have a YouTuber that you like their theory? Please share it in the comment below.